All right. Welcome back, everyone, to SirAntwi Education channel. Please don't forget to subscribe for me if you have not done so. And thank you to all those who have contributed in making this channel grow. Right. Today we are going to take a look at spreadsheet checklist for grade 11, and then also database as well as HTML. We will focus on previous question papers, that is last year question paper, November 2024 and 2023. And if possible, we will also look at 2019. We will be comparing based on our checklist. Right. Now, without wasting much time, I'm going to start, but I would like to find out if everybody can see my screen. If you can see my screen, don't forget to include it in the comment section, and then I'll be able to start. If you can see the screen and also hear my voice, then I will start right away. Right, now let's start with the first aspect, which is sheet management. That is how to rename the worksheet, the tab color, and then move worksheet. Then we will also look at merge and center, applying shading, that is filling, gradient fill, and then pattern style. Then orientation, row height, column width, free space, and then autofill. Then lastly, we will look at data validation, and then also subtotal. These are the spreadsheet features. Then when we are done, we will move straight to and then conditional formatting, which is also spreadsheet feature. Then from there, we will move straight to calculations. Right, without wasting much time, I'm going to pick the 2024 question paper. Now, it says we must open 3 dam spreadsheet containing the information about the dams in South Africa. I shared the link with you also, so you can also open it. If you go to that Google Drive, you will find out that it says grade 11 papers. Inside the grade 11 document, you are going to find grade 11 practical. So inside this one, you see all the files that I used yesterday and then also today. So today I'm going to focus on 2024 and 2023. If we have time, we will also look at grade 11 Excel videos also, and then database videos. Right. So I'll open the 3dam spreadsheet. Now the question says, work in the dam worksheet. This is the dam worksheet. Now, when we talk about the sheet management, that is renaming. Let's say this dam worksheet, I want to change the name. You double click and then you can type the name. Let's say I want to make it as dams. Again, you can also modify the sheet tab by right clicking and then you choose tab color. They can ask you to change the tab color also. Again, regarding the sheet tab, you can also be asked to move or copy. Let's say we want to move this particular dam to the last one. So you go to move and then you say move to end. Then you click OK. So that it will be at the end. Now, again, like this worksheet, I can also move it to a new worksheet. Let's say I have sheet 1, and then I want to move this one to a new worksheet. You right click and then you see move or copy. And then to workbook, you choose new workbook. Then OK. So that is going to create its own workbook, which you can be given a question to also save it with a new name. So that's how we move one worksheet to another workbook. Right. Then the next question says, change the formatting of cell A2 to display the column title the same cell as the other column titles. Now, this question wants us to display the titles as the same. So we move to A2. Here is A2. Now you can see that A2 is centered vertically and horizontally. Now, when you look at these ones also, they are centered vertically and horizontally, and then they also apply wrap text. They wrap the text. That is why you see that each of them are fully visible. Now, for you to make them to be the same, there are two ways. You can click on the existing one, then you click on Format Painter, then you come and click on this one so that it will be the same as other cells. Alternatively, you can just check and then you look at how it was formatted, then you come and also format it the same way, which takes a lot of time. Right. Now change the format of the date in column E to date format 4Y, 2M, and then 2D. Now column E, the question says we might change the date format. So we select all the dates in column E, and then you right click, then you choose format cell. Alternatively, after selecting, you can easily go to search and then you type format cell. Now, to change it or to modify, you go to custom. You don't choose date, you go to custom. Then you type it as the question has been given to you. Now, according to the question, it should be 4Y and then 2M, then followed by 2D, like as you see here. Right. They can even ask you to change it to a specific format. Let's say 4Y with dash 4D. When you put D in 4 of them, that means you want the day to be written in full, like Thursday, Monday, and others. And then if you put 2D, that means to be like 16th. And then also 3M will be maybe September, SEP. Now, if you put 4M, it will be written in full. So take note of that and okay. Now, the question wanted us to pick a particular formatting style. Right. Now, 3.3, correct the heading of column G to display as follows. Now, you can see that the surface and this one are together like this one here. They say you must correct it. That means it was taken up. This one's here was taken up, which is the, let's check. So the font group, it was taken up, that was superscript. So you have to select the raised to the power 2, and then you go to font group, and then you change it to superscript. Then again, this one also, you select it, go to font group, and then you choose superscript. Right. And then the next question, this is function. We are not going to deal with function right now. We will come to functions later. Now, let's also look at 2023 question paper, changing the formatting. So I'm going to open 2023 question paper also. Three concepts. Right, again, it says you must work in the summary worksheet and then make the following changes. Change the row height of the first row to 25. So we go to the summary worksheet, and in the first row, the question says we have to change the row height to 25. So you right click and choose row height, then you type 25. Again, center, align the learner's grade in column A. Now, these are the learner's grades in column A. So now the question says we have to center them. You select all of them. Now to center, you see this one. This is horizontal center, and that's vertical center. So sometimes they can tell you to center horizontally and vertically, meaning that you click on this one and then the one on top also. Alternatively, you can also right click or you go to the alignment, that arrow there, then you choose center horizontally and then vertically. Right. They can also ask you to distribute. Now, let's say the horizontal center, we have also distribute indent. Then you choose the indent that you are distributing, maybe by 1 centimeter. And then again, it says change the currency symbol of the amount in column H to rand. So this is column H, and we need to change this one to rand symbol. Also, you go to currency, you can go to number format, and the currency, you have the dollars, then you change it to rand symbol. I think it should be the first one, and then okay. They can also ask you to change the number of decimal place, like to 2 decimal place, then you change it also here. Right. Now, format cell D2 up to G4 to appear as you can see below. Now, merge and center D2 to F2, and then also rep text for G2. So, merge and center from here up until that side. You select, and then you can use the search to type merge and center, or you can also get merge and center from the alignment group. Here is it. So if in examination you don't know where to find merge and center, you can also use the search and then you type merge and center. Now let's move on to the next one. It's a rep text in column G. This is G, so we have to rep text. Rep text is this one, the one on top. Right. And then we will also look at other formatting, which we don't find any of them here. The rest are only calculation, which we will come there. Now, let's check question 4 from 2024 also. Now, it says change the heading of C1 to display over the cell range, that one up to that. That means you have to also merge and center. You have to merge and center. If it says it should be over, that means merge and center. So let's also look at that one. It's also 2024 for question 4. So this one, they said it should cover all display. That means merge and center. Then you merge and then you center them. Now, I want to also show you this, whereby they can ask you to change the alignment. Now, let's say we want to change this one, this alignment. You see orientation from the alignment. You see orientation. If you don't know where to find it, you can as well type orientation, and then you can change it, rotate up and others. Now, when you go here, we have angle counterclockwise. We also have angle clockwise, and then we have vertical or rotate text up, and then we have rotate text down. If you don't see the particular alignment that the question is asking, then you go to format cell alignment. Then you can now change the orientation to a specific degrees. Right. So you must watch out for that type of question also, orientation. Now, we move on to the next one called free span. Free span, let's say we want to lock row 1 and row 2 so that from row 3, When you scroll down, only 1 and 2 will be visible. And we call it freeze pane. Now to deal with freeze pane, let's say we want to only lock 1 and 2. So we move to the next row, which is row 3. You click on it, and then you can find freeze pane from view, or alternatively, you can search and type freeze pane. Then you choose freeze pane, so that when you scroll down, 1 and 2 will be locked up like you see here. That is the power of freeze pane. It is not only the rows, we can also lock the column. Let's say I want column A and B to be locked. I will select column C and then also type freeze pane. Let me unfreeze first. Then you type freeze pane, so that when I scroll to the right, 1 A and B will always be visible. Right, so you can freeze the row or you can freeze the column also. So you need to take note of that. Right. Now, 4.2, insert a comment in column B for the dam in Limpopo. The comment must be project on hold. So column B, now for Limpopo, they say we must insert a comment for Limpopo. So we have to just go to comment, which you can get from insert, and then you see comment. Or alternatively, you can just type comment and then give insert comment. Then you can now type the comment here. Project on hold. Right, so that's how we insert comment. Right, I think that is all. Okay, there's also another one, which is formatting 4.4, and it says apply the following layout option to the worksheet. Set the print area to print only range A1 up until G14. So we want to print only A1 to G14. So here's A1 up until G14. You select and then you go to page layout, then you see print area, then you click on set. Alternatively, you can just go to search. After selecting, then you type print area, then you go to set print area, so that when you print, only that area will be printed, not other areas. Again, they can ask you to also reduce the scale and also print the grid lines or print the heading. So you take that one also, so that the grid lines will be there and the headings A and B and others will also be visible. They can also ask you to print only maybe row 2 to remain on top. So that one, you go to what we call the this arrow here, you go there under the print or the page setup. Then you will see sheet, and then you will find something that's a rows to repeat at the top. You click there and then you select the row that you wanted to repeat at the top. Let's say row 2. Then you go back and then you preview to see. So you realize that that row will always be on top of the pages. Right, so that's how we set rows to repeat on top. So you must watch out for that type of question also. Now change the orientation of the page to landscape. So you go to orientation, which you can get it from page layout, and then choose orientation landscape. Next question, set the scaling of the document to ensure that all the columns will be visible on one page. Now we want everything to be visible on one page. Now you can see it is here. So we have to reduce the scale. It is 100%. Now as you reduce it, you will see where that print area is. 85 is still not yet. Now when I go to 80, it's still not yet. I think 75 will be fine. So when you preview, so that all the columns will be visible on one page. Right, you can also fit it to page. You click on this arrow and then you say fit to one page. Fit to one page and then you click OK. Right, so you can do that as well. Now, let's move on to the next question. Display all the rows and column headings when printed. We already did it. You take column or the headings to be printed. You take that one. And then activate the draft mode quality print option. So here we want the draft mode when we print it to be in the econo mode or draft mode. And that one, you can go to the page setup or the printing. You will see that one there. And then the print quality, it says 600 dp. That's the quality it has picked already. Now, when you want to print, when you go to print preview or you go to print, then you can now see the page setup with the other options. You now go to the page setup and then you will see the draft mode. No, the print properties, not page setup, print properties, and then you see the draft mode. Now, because here it's only showing, it's not selected, the printer is not selected, it's always going to give problem. It's always going to give problem because when you go that side, you will not find the draft mode. The sheet properties, you will see the graph here is here under the sheet. You will find the draft quality. And then the gray line to be displayed as well as the black and then white. If you want it to be printed in black and white, you choose black and white also. Then again, they can also give you a question, page order. That's down, then over, or over, then down. That is how you want the page to be ordered. You can also pick that one from that side. And if you want to print the comment and then also the notes, you can also display it maybe at the end of the sheet. The comment should also be displayed. Right. So the page setup, watch out for this, for the page, whereby they can ask you questions to change all these options or margins or the header if they wanted to insert something in the header section so that you can insert something. And then the sheet, if you want to print, set the print area, and then the rows and column to repeat, you have to also select them from here. And then the print quality also. Right. So that is all about the printing and then the page setup. Now, we will come to chat later. Still under the spreadsheet features, we can also have autofill. Let's say they want you to number from 1 up until 10, 1, and then you autofill. You just double click, then you select autofill option, fill series, so that you number 1, 2, 3 up until the last one. Right. So basically, these are the formatting and then the basic thing that you need to know regarding spreadsheet, how to format them. Now let's move to conditional formatting. There is a question there regarding conditional formatting. In grade 11, you have to know the basic conditional formatting. The basic conditional formatting. And I think there is one conditional formatting here, which is 3.8. Use conditional formatting to format 15 oldest dams in column E with a red font. So you select column E. They said, let's check the question again because you see column E has date. 15 oldest. So now you go to conditional formatting and then you go to new rule. Now, when you are talking about oldest or the biggest, we can use only the top or bottom rank values. And now we want oldest, so the 15 of them, not the 10. So here we cannot use top. If you say top with the 8, the top, that's the biggest values, which will be the youngest. So here we choose the bottom, and then you go to format, then we fill it. According to the question, we have to fill it with red font. So we choose the font, not filling, then we select the font color to be red. And then you click OK. So the 15 orders will now be in red font. Right, that's the top bottom rules. There is also a type of conditional formatting whereby you have to use greater than or less than. For instance, we want a capacity. When the capacity is more than 1,000, it should be filled with something. So you select it, and conditional formatting, you choose new rule. Now, here we go to the next one. Format only cell that contains. That is where you can choose between or not between or greater than or less than or greater or equals to. So if they say greater or equal to 5,000, you type there, and then you can now format. Maybe you want to put a border around it with a specific border color, and then fill in also with a specific color. So all of them are more than 5,000. Only few are not more than 5,000. That is why it has been selected. There is also another type of conditional formatting, which I believe you are going to appreciate that also. That is color scale. Let's say we want to find conditional formatting with a color scale. We go to new rule, and then we have different scales. That's the first option. That's a 2-color scale, 3-color scale. We also have data bars. We also have icon set, which you can choose different icons. So they can ask you, let's say I want to choose this icon set. And then they said when the first value, the full star, when it's greater or equals to 200,000, and we pick value, which is number, not percentages, because these values are not percentage, they are numbers. And then the next one will be when it's greater or equals to maybe 50,000. Also, don't forget to choose number. Right. Then you click OK. So here we have to adjust the range values greater or equals to that. That means from that one, and if it's between 50,000 and that. So here, let's say, oh, this is 20,000. That is why. So this one should be 5,000. That's why it gave me problem. Right. So you set it. They will give you the conditions, and then all of them will be having the star next to them. We also have other ones like data bars and others, whereby when you select, we have icon set, conditional formatting, new rule, and then we can have color scales, maybe 3-color scale. The lowest value, it could be number. You select the number, the lowest could be maybe 2,000. The second number, the middle number can be maybe 10,000 or 20,000. The question will always specify, and this one will be the maximum to be 500,000. So you can also choose the colors. They can tell you which colors should you choose for the minimum, and which one should it be for the midpoint, and which one should it be for the maximum. So that you can see that these values are all minimum. That is why it's having the green colors. Right, so that's how we apply the color scales also. Now, again, we have conditional formatting that is for above and below average. New rule, and then we choose this one, above or below average. Then you go to format. So all those values that are above average will be highlighted. So that is above or below average conditional formatting. Right. Now, that is all about conditional format. Now we move straight to another spreadsheet feature called data validation. Data validation. Now, I think there should be data validation questions somewhere, which I'm going to pick it up. If there is no data validation question, I will set a question of that nature. So let me check 2023 if there is data validation question. Right. Okay, here was conditional formatting, say less than. So it was easier one. There is no data validation. So I'm going to explain to you what is called a data validation, which is also a spreadsheet feature. Now, let's take, for instance, the provinces are listed here. And now we want to have the provinces. Remember, I'm using the 4 hydroelectric data file. Now, I want to ensure that when I click here, I will be able to select the provinces instead of me to type. So I will select all these values that I want to apply the data validation. And you can get a data validation from data, then you see data validation. Alternatively, you can just go there to search and type validation. Now, because we want options to choose from, we don't choose any value. We select what we call list, because these are the list we want to select. And then you click inside the source, you click on this up arrow, then you select where we are getting that source from, which is these ones. And then you press enter and enter again. Now let's go and check. When you go here and you click on the arrow, it will give you the list of the options for all the provinces, so that we'll be able to select the province from that side. Right, that is the data validation, which involves options, just like spreadsheet, a database called lookup wizard or combo box. Now, there's also another interesting data validation that is, let me remove the freeze pane. There's also another interesting data validation which talks about the validation rule. Let's take, for instance, we want to set a validation rule here so that it will contain only values from 10 and above. So you select again, you go to validation. Then this time, we do not choose any value. We choose whole number. If it has decimals, we choose decimal. So be careful. Now you can see there are some decimals here. Now, the question says we want the value from 10 and above. So we can say greater or equals to 10. We can also have between, not between, on less than or equals to. So here we choose greater or equals to 10. And then okay. Now again, data validation, we can have validation text. When you set the rule, you can go to input message, then you type the validation text. Only values above or from 10 are allowed for the validation text. Then okay. So that to guide you when you are typing the values and it's wrong, it's going to guide you. But not all the values are above 10. This is 2.1, which was already typed. So meaning that we can circle values that are invalid. And then you can get it from data validation also. There is an arrow that says circle invalid data. So it's going to circle all the invalid data for you. 2.1 is invalid. 4 is invalid because we said it should be above 10. But this is 2.1, so it is invalid data. Right. This is invalid because Free State Eastern Cape. And maybe the way the Free State was written, there's something wrong there. But if you choose Free State, then maybe to leave that one. So if you insert and then you want to circle all the invalid data, we use that tool or the feature in the spreadsheet. Right. Now, again, not only values, we can also use text for data validation. Let's say we want to apply data validation here, but this time we say text length. Remember, we have date and other ones also. Text length. Let's say we want only the text length that is between 5 and then 10. So ESCOM is between 5 and 10. So that's why it did not circle. Bethlehem Hydro is more than 10. That's why it has been circled. So we can also use text length for data validation. Right. Then the last spreadsheet feature, which is called the last spreadsheet feature, which we are going to look at, 2024 question paper, and then we call it subtotal. Subtotal. Now, it says work in the volume worksheet, this one. Now, the question says, use the subtotal feature to display the total capacity of all the dams in each province. So here, the key word is total. That means we use the function called sum. So the sum of the capacity of all the province. So meaning we have to group according to province. Sometimes the question will not be clear. It will tell you use a spreadsheet feature. It is still subtotal. Whenever you see for each, or you see group, or you see by, or you also see the keyword pair. So meaning it is a subtotal feature. Now, how do we deal with subtotal? To deal with subtotal, the first thing is to sort your data, including the headings. Now, which one are we sorting according to? So you go to sort and filter and choose custom sort. How would you know which one are you supposed to sort according to? Because of this, for each or group by. So meaning we are sorting according to province. And I think this data was already sorted for us according to province A to Z. Now, when you are done sorting, the next one to go to subtotal, which you get it from data, and then you see subtotal. You click on it, then it says at each change in. At each change in, you pick the column you sorted according to. So here we sorted according to column B, which is province. We choose that one. Now, which function are we using? Because the question says sum or the total, we have to use the function called sum. If the question says the average capacity, then we have to choose average. And then the question says the total capacity, meaning add totals to, we choose capacity, not the depth. Then these three is very important. If you want to put page break in between, that means every group like Eastern Cape will be on its own page. Then you take this one, page break between groups. If you want the total to be on top, you remove this one, summary below data, so that the totals will be on top of each. So now you can see Eastern Cape total, and then you see the total for Eastern Cape. Then when you scroll down, Free State total, then to add all the Free State values here. Now, sometimes they can give you a screenshot like this. How will you determine that? You might check where they have the function next to it. Now you see here, it is total. if it was average, let me go back. So if I chose average, it's going to give me Eastern Cape average. So meaning when you see a screenshot, check the function that they use. Which one did they sort according to? That's the one that they see. You see the function name next to it. And which one did they do the calculation according to? If you check row 4, you realize that only value is under the capacity. That means they did it according to the capacity. There's no value here. If you come here also, the values are only this side. Right. That one can also guide you whenever you are dealing with subtotal features. Right. So we are done with subtotal. I am going to move to calculations. Right. Now, we move straight to the actual calculations. And then we will also check graphs. Don't forget to bring your questions. If you have any question, can this lesson be downloaded? Yes. When the life is over, you can get access to it. I will group them. I will separate spreadsheet from database and HTML also. Right. Let's move straight to calculations. Now, what are some of the calculations that you should know? Because now we are done with all the spreadsheet features, including autofill, free spain, and others. Data validation, conditional formatting, subtotal. We didn't do graphs here. That will be the last one. Now let's move straight to calculations. The first calculation, the question says, use a function in L3 to determine the number of terms in the list. Now, when you see number, it means count. Or if you see total number, it is also count. So total number, or you see number, we use count function. Now, it says in L3, here is L3. Now the question says you must find the number, the total number of the terms. So we use count. Now, count is only applicable for numbers. So if you want to count the text, let's say the term names, then we have to use count A. Now I'm going to show you something. If I say equals to count, and then I select column A values, and then enter. Now you realize that it's going to give me 0. Why is it giving me 0? Because I am counting text. These are names, they are not numbers. So when you do that and it's giving an error of 0, that means you use wrong. It's supposed to be count A. So you go to formula bar, then you just add A, which is count A, and then enter. So we got 145. So the right function was supposed to be counter, not count. Count is only for numbers, right, or numerical values. The next one in L5, to determine the capacity of the dam with the second highest capacity. Second highest. Whenever you are dealing with the highest or the largest, and they are talking about the second, we use large. You cannot use max. Max is for the largest value. Now, if you want the second highest, the third largest, or the fourth largest, you have to use large function. So let's move straight to L5. So we use large function. Equal sign, large. You double click on FX. Go to the formula bar and click on FX again. Now, the array, which is the column, you must select. And they are talking about the capacity. So you select the values in column F. And then K, because they are talking about the second largest, so the K will be 2. Then you click OK. That will be the second largest value. Now, if they want the third largest, then K is going to be 3. Right. Let's move on to the next calculation. Use a function to determine which debt appears the most in column H. That's most frequently occurring, which is mode. So when you see most, then we use the function called mode. So let's go to L7, equal sign, mode. Then you click on FX. Now the question says we should use column H. So the mode is 38. That means 38 appears most over here. Right. The next question. Use a function to determine the total capacity of all the dams in Gauteng, column C. That means we are finding the total capacity for all the dams in Gauteng, which is column C. Now, whenever you see total without the number, then it is sum. But here we are dealing with sum with condition, which is sum ifs or sum if. So you can use either sum ifs or you can use sum if. Right. So let me stick to sum ifs. So sum ifs, regardless of the number of condition, you can still get the answer properly. So equal sign, sum ifs, or you can use sum if because the condition is 1. Now the sum range, because the question says the total capacity, so the sum range will be the capacity column. You select the values for capacity. And then the criteria range 1, it says for all those in Gauteng, which is column C. So the criteria range 1 will be column C, where we find the provinces. And then again, criteria. The question says we are looking for Gauteng. You can type Gauteng in full, or you can say star GAU star. Pick the first 3 characters, which we call the wild card. You pick the first 3 characters, GAU, then you put a star before and star after. So you just put star for Gauteng, star GAU star. That means contain letter GAU. So it's better you pick the first 3 letters, you put a star before and star after. It will solve all kinds of problems for you when it involves text. Right, if let's say we're looking for Free State, we will just say star FRE star, which will calculate for Free State for us. Good. Now, we move on to the next question. This conditional formatting, we did it already. Subtotal also, we did it. Now, let's check other questions if we can find, that is 2023 question paper, if we can find other type of calculation. So remember, when you are dealing with large, the largest, we use large. If you are looking for small, let's say they are looking for the second or the third smallest capacity, we use small. And then you select the capacity values. So the third smallest value, you type 3 and then OK. Right. So you must know large, for it can be the largest or the second largest or the third largest. If it's largest, you put 1 as the value for K. Right. Now, we have count ifs. Count if is also similar to sum if. Let's say we want to find all those from KZN and then they chose the Seine River. So we use count ifs. So to be equal sign, count ifs, you click on FX, and then the criteria range 1, you select the provinces. Whenever you see range, it means you must select criteria, we are looking for, let's say we are looking for Limpopo. So you say star LIM star. Or you can put the 4 of them, LIMP star. And a criteria range 2, we select all the river to them. And then the criteria, we are looking for send river. So star SAND star. That means it contains the word send. Now, it means we might not get Limpopo that has the send river. Now, let's check Free State that might have. So here we say star FRE star. So we got one. There's one Free State that has send river. Right. So that's how we use the sum ifs. Now, another interesting type of question that you must also watch out for is how to use average, how to calculate average, and then you round it. Let's say we want to calculate average capacity, and then we round it to 2 decimal place. So it's better you make use of the building block, or you put the first answer next to it. So equal sign average. Then you click on FX. So the number, you select all the values under the capacity. So we got this average. Now, if the question says round it to 2 decimal place, then you go to where you must put the answer equals to round. You click on FX, and then you click on the number that you have for average. Then the number of decimal place, you put it there, maybe 2. Because this one was formatted as 0, that's why you see like that. Right. So now we have the 2 decimal place. So that's how we do average, and then you run it to a certain decimal place. Now, again, still under this type of calculations that you must know is range between. Now, let's say we want to find or do calculations here. And I like that type of question. There was a question like that for grade 12 question paper. Now, they brought range between question. Let's say we are going to increase each dem value here by 10. In other words, when the dem value is 1, we add 10 to it. When it is 2, we add it to be 20. So let's say we want to have the range between. So we use equal sign range between. Now we want to have range between from 0 up until 10. Now, after every value, then we need to multiply by 10 or maybe 15. So you go back to the formula, and then when it gives you this, you go there and say times 10. So meaning if it is 1, it will multiply by 10. If it is, you double click, it keeps on multiplying by 10. Right. So that's how range between works. They can ask you a complex one also to range between the values. Right. That's range between random numbers, generating random numbers between 2 different values. Now, one interesting type of question is to percentage increase and percentage decrease. And I think there's a similar question for 2023 question paper. Let's take a look at this. Now, 3.2, it says the learners in each class are divided into 3 categories: helper, audience, and performance, as indicated in D, E, and F. The class size, that is the sum of the numbers in 3 categories, are stored in column G. So let's look at it. These are the numbers. And then insert a formula in D5. Here is D5. Right. To determine the number of helpers in 8A. So here's 8A. Now you want the number. And then they are saying that this is the class size. And they are divided into 3 categories. The class size, which is the sum, in 3 categories are stored in column G. So this is the sum in column G. So meaning this plus that must give you 27. Like here, 21 plus 9 plus 1 will give you 31. Now they want to find this one. So it's just like putting a formula. So it means that the value here will now be equals to, you open bracket, that will be this 27 minus the performer value minus the audience value. Then you close bracket. So this should be 3. So you know when you add 3 to 18, which is going to give us 21 plus 6, which will be 27. The next question, insert a function, insert D26, to determine the total number of learners in the audience. Now the total number of learners in column E. We need to find the total number of audience. Now, if you see total plus number, but because these are values, they are audience values, so the total number will use sum. Other than that, if it was text, we're going to use the function called count. So here we use sum, and we select all the audience values here. Now, if it says the average class size, then we use average function, like what this question said. Insert a function in D27 to calculate the average class size. Round it to ensure that it is in the whole number, no decimal place. So we need to calculate the average class size. Like I said, you need to calculate it next to it, which is equals to average. And then you select all the class size values. So we have the answer here. But they said there shouldn't be any decimal place. So we can round it to 0 decimal place, or we can use the int function, equal sign int, which is integer. Then you click on this answer. It's going to take out the integer function part of this one. Or you can use round, and then you round this one to 0 decimal place. Right, so that's how we answer that part of the question. Now, here they are saying the amount for each member of audience is paid is stored in E4, and then the amount which a sponsor agreed to pay of each is stored in F4. Insert a formula in H10 to calculate the total amount collected from class 9B. The formula must be able to be copied to other relevant cells in the column. without manual adjustment. Now, they want here the amount. And then they are saying F4 has the performer, and then E4 has the audience. So these are the amounts. Now, they want you to find the total here. That means is this multiplied by that, plus this 10 multiplied by that, plus this one multiplied by that. But because we are going to drag down, we have to give each of these names. So you right click and choose define name. We can give this name as A. You right click here, define name, you give it a name as B. And this one, you can right click and give it a name as D. Remember, C is also reserved. It will not work. So here is A. When I click on it, you see A written here. If you click here, B. This one is named as D. So we are going to do the calculation inside this space. That is equals to the value for A times this value here, the number, plus the value for B times this value, plus the value for D times that value, and then you press enter. So if you drag down, it's going to work because we have given this one names. If you don't give them names, it's not going to work. It's going to give you wrong answer because it is going to be relative reference, not absolute reference. Right. Now, if statement, classes that collected more than 250 are eligible for a special award. Insert a function in cell I-15 that the text yes is displayed if the class is 10C is eligible for an award and no if it is not eligible. Now, the condition is this one. This is if statement. So here you can use if or you can use ifs. Depending on your school, if you have ifs, you can use it also. Now, the question says, the message yes should be displayed if the amount collected in column H is more than 250. So we are going to put the answer here. So you press equal sign if, double click on fx next to if, and then you go to fx. Now the logical text, this is the amount, you click on it. When H5 is greater than 250, then the value if true, they say we must put yes. The value if false should be no. So here we got yes. Alternatively, we could have also used ifs. So the first logical text, if H15 is greater than 250, then we put yes. Logical text 2, H15 is less than or equals to 250, then we put no. So you can use ifs also to get the same answer. Right. So take note when you are dealing with if statement, when the conditions are 3, you have to use 2 if statement. If the conditions are 2, you have to use only 1 if statement. And you know, in grade 11, we deal with a single if statement, not a nested if statement. So you always be given at least 2 conditions or maybe 2 conditions. Let's see if 2024 also got if statement. Let's check if there's if statement in 2024. Yeah, there is it. 2024. 4.3. So let me open for hydro. And according to the question, we must insert the formula in G3 here. Right, now what's the condition? It says use a formula in cell G3 to display the name of the power plant in column A that generate more than the average of the installed capacity in column C. If the hydro plant does not generate more than the average, then the star must be there. So here, there are two conditions. And here are the two conditions. The question says, display this message at the power plant name. If the one that they have generated, which is column C, the capacity. If the capacity generated here is more than, if that they generate more than the average of the installed. So meaning if the capacity here, this value is more than the average of this one, then we must put the name. Otherwise, you put asterisk or the star. Now, let's check. So meaning we have to first calculate the average in the building block. We have to calculate the average in the building block. So you go to building block. Building block here has been created for you to solve questions step by step. So we start with the average. So average of the values in column C. We got 423. So we are comparing each value here with the average. So because we are comparing with this average, we have to give it a name. You can double click, you right click and choose define name. We can give it a name as A. Anytime you are comparing a group of values with one particular value, you need to give it a name. So here we go and use our if statement, equal sign if. Now the logical test says when the value for the installed, which is C3, is more than, which is greater than the value of for the average, which we name it as A, then we must display the value if true. We have to display the name, which is A3. Otherwise, we must put asterisk. And then you click OK. So here we got asterisk because this 42 is not more than this average. Now, when you drag down, some of them got asterisk, some of them also got a name. This one is getting the name because the value here is 1,000, which is more than the average. And that's why it displayed the name. So this question, we needed to solve it step by step. First of all, create the average. Then you now compare it with the values given to you. This is a complex question. That's why the total mark was 8. They wanted you to solve it step by step. Right. Now, there are times that you can get questions whereby they want you to just do a calculation by increasing the values. Like this one here, they are talking about other calculations like the number of learners who perform only salaries. So now, these are number with a condition which is count if. Determine how many participated in more than one item, which is count if also greater than 1. So here we need to use the count if function. Now this is called the subtotal. This is a subtotal question. So we can also look at these questions. So basically, These are the things that are needed regarding your spreadsheet, the count ifs, the sum ifs, and others. Now, 3.13. This is grade 11 worksheet. Now, according to the question, learners who took part only as a solo act. Now, here are the solo act. The solo act is the one that is tick. Only that one. So we want to count only where there's a tick. So we cannot use count. So here we have to use counter. And then you select. So we got 6. So counter deals with when it is a text. Here, additional choir members needed up to 20. And the learners who took part in more than one item. That means those who took part in more than one. Use count if. These are the items given to you here. So those who took more than one item. That means this one used more than one item. You have to count. So this type of question, you needed to break them down and count them here. You needed to count them from these items. So after that, then you can now count those who took more than one, which is count if. Then you select your values here. And then criteria greater than 1. So those who took more than 1, they are 14. So you must always check. Now here they are talking about grade 11s also, and maybe grade 11C or any other. Use count ifs. Now, one interesting thing that we are going to wrap up is percentage increase and discounted prices. Percentage increase. Let's say we are increasing the capacity by 15%. We are increasing each capacity value by 15%. So with this, you press equal sign, you open bracket. The original percentage is 100%. So it's 100 plus that 15 that they are increasing with. Then you put a percentage symbol times the value given to you here. So this value, if you increase by 15%, you are going to get that. Right. If you are to decrease this one by 50%, then it's going to be equals to, you click this value. Now you open bracket, 100 minus 15, you close bracket, then you put the percentage. Discount, meaning that you subtract from 100%. Increase, you add, times the value given to you here. So this is decreased by 15%. This is increased by 15%. So to decrease, you subtract that percentage given from 100, then you put a percentage symbol times the value you are increasing. Decrease, you add it to 100, and then you put a percentage, then you multiply. So that's the percentage increase, VAT inclusive and VAT exclusive. Right, so we are done with the spreadsheet. The last part, I think, before I forget, the last part will be graphs. Now I see some graphs here. Work in the chart worksheet. This is the chart worksheet. I'm not sure which one is this. For hydro, yes. So the chart worksheet. Now they created a chart. Then according to the question, the chart must have a descriptive title. That means we have to put a title. To put a title, you click on the chart element, then you take title. The chart title. Then you can put a title there. I think here the title, you have to check what the title is. But then we have to check the data. They didn't tell us what the title should be. So we have to check the data. You right click and choose select data. Now this is the data that they use. You see, they are the provinces, and I think it's the total installment per province. Yes, it's the total installment per province. So that you can now type it. Right. Again, they can tell you to put the exit titles, you change them. Now they must have values. To have the values, you click on the chart element, then you see data labels so that you can have the values. If they want the values to be on top, you go to the right arrow, then you go to more options. Then you'll be able to choose how you want to place them. Now, these are the values we want. They can even ask you to pick the cell, the data labels. You can take them to be outer, or you go to that data labels and then you choose the data callout to be on top, or you can just take them to the top. Right. One thing that you must also know, let's finish the question, then I'll show you other things. All data series must automatically display in different color. Now they want this one to display in different color. These are the data series. You click on one of them, it will select all of them for you. And then you right click and choose format data series. Remember to also look out for this one, the column shape. They can tell you to choose different shapes. And then you go to fill, and then you choose vary colors by point so that they'll have different colors. That's the feature we use to change the colors by point. And then the chart must display as object in the Hydro worksheet. So we want this one to be as object in the Hydro worksheet. So we need to move this chart. When you click on the chart, you will see format and then the chart design. Then from chart design, you see move chart. Then as object in Hydro worksheet, you click on it so that the chart will now move to Hydro worksheet. Let's do again. So that to move to Hydro worksheet. Right. Now, regarding the chart, there are several things that you can also do. Let's say these names here, the provinces, they want you to change them. You select them, you right click, and then you see format axis. And then you can now change the axis. You will find here, we have the axis options, whereby you can also change the categories in reverse order to change them. That means here the Western Cape will be first, and then it goes to Eastern Cape. Then we have the labels. The labels, you can choose the label position to high. Maybe you want it to be on top. And then the distance, you can also set it. Then again, we also have the number from the labels, which you can change the number that are given to you. Then when you come to this one, the alignment, the second one, then you can change the alignment, maybe rotate up or rotate down. So they can ask you to change them. Right. And then also, they can ask you to change this one maybe to thousands. You right click and choose format axis, and then you can now change it, maybe display unit to hundreds. You just right click any of the options that you want to do. If you want to fill the space, you right click and you see fill. Let's say you want to fill with a picture or any gradient style. Again, there are other things that you can also do. They can ask you so many questions regarding this. Maybe you are filling only this part. You double click so that to select only that one, you right click and choose fill. Let's say you want to fill only that part with a picture. Then you can select the picture that you want to fill with. Right. So basically, that is all about chart. You can even have a chart, then they will tell you to change this chart to maybe pie chart. You right click and say, you right click on the chart, and then you choose what we call change chart type, so that we can change the chart type to, let's say, to pie chart. So that's how we change the chart type. Now, what if they want the series name to also be there? To pull out the largest one, you double click on the largest one, then you pull it out. So we can also rotate this. You right click and choose format data point. Then you see gap and then the rotation, the gap position. You can change the gap position and the gap width also. You can also have, if it's 3D, you can now rotate them. So you must watch out for some of these things. If you want, you right click and then you see whatever that you want to change. Right. Let's say the pictures also you want it to be stacked, not stretched. You choose stack so that the pictures will be stacked inside it. Now that's all about graphs. You must watch out for some of these things, how to select data and how to move and how to change the data series. Legend, you can also be given a question to change the legend to, let's say, right or left, and then you change the legend. Right, so that is all about spreadsheet. Right, now let's move quickly to database. So spreadsheet, we have covered almost every aspect regarding spreadsheet. The VAT inclusive discount and others. Today's date, we use today, now, and then all these functions. Now we are moving quickly to database. Database, I don't think I will spend much time there. I'll pick one question and then I'll be able to explain the aspect, what you need to do regarding database. And HTML will be the one that we will finalize with, which will be also easier. So database, I am going to use 2020 4-question paper, 5 provinces. Now, I know most of the grade 11th, you have issues with database. So please, that's why I'm starting today, so that you have enough time to watch over this, and then you'll be able to practice more. Now, the question says we have to open TBL 5_1. So this is the table. Remember, we have two views. We have datasheet view and design view. If you double click, it's going to open for you in datasheet view. If you right click, then you choose design view. Now, let's start with the datasheet view, which they will ask questions there. So I'm going to increase it so that it will be more visible as you watch. Now, the first thing that they can ask you regarding database is to change the text formatting. Now, you will see text formatting, there's an error whereby you can change all this. Alternatively, you can go to tell me what to do and type format or cell. If you type cell, it's going to give you format cell. Now, we have the cell effect like raised, sunken, or flat. We have the background color. They can ask to change the background color and alternate background color. They can also ask you to change the grid line colors. And they can ask you to also remove either vertical or horizontal grid line. Then one interesting aspect here is the border and line style. They can ask you to choose the column header must be underlined with maybe dashes or any of these. Then you click OK. So that's how we format the cell. Again, in datasheet view, you must also watch how to change the row height. So when you right click, you see row height. Let's say we are changing it to 35. This is the 35. It will change all of them. Again, when you right click, they can also ask you to choose standard height. This is standard height. Then it goes back to the standard height. Then again, what can you do over here? We can also sort. Let's say we are sorting according to the province in ascending order, which is A to Z. Right. And they can also ask you to do calculations over here. Now, to do calculations, you must go to totals. Then you see the total row. Let's say we want to pick the average MW capacity. Then you select it whenever you see the total row. So basically, these are the things that you must know regarding the data sheet view. Of course, they can tell you to also center them or alignment or change the font color, which they can ask you to do that also. Right. Now, we move straight to design view. But before that, they can ask you to also export maybe the first five. Let's say they can ask us to sort according to MB capacity from largest to smallest. And they want us to sort it and then export the first five, which is this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We want to export the first five as PDF. So you only select the first five, not all of them, and then export. You get it from external data, then you see export. Let's say we are exporting to PDF. Only the selected part, then you export it. Then you can now give it a name. Or they can ask you to export it to maybe spreadsheet. We are exporting to spreadsheet. Then you take this one, export data with layout. Then only the selected record. You take only the selected record so that you can now browse it and then go and then display it where you want to export it to. So when we go there, only that 5 will be there. As you can see, only that 5. So when you're exporting and then only the selected one, that's how we export. Right. Now we move straight to database design view. What can be done under the design view? Let's check the checklist. So here, the question paper, it says move the province and change the property. So here is all about design view. They only focus on design view. If you check 2023 question paper, it says add the horizontal and vertical line or grid lines. So that one also, they have one question for properties. Now, it says we must open it in datasheet view and edit this. Now, it should be design view, not datasheet. It should be design view, but because whenever that you are inserting new field and others, you must have it in design view. Now, the first one, you right click and choose design view. The first question says, move the province field to be the first. This is the province field, and we want it to be the first. To be able to move it, you click on the gray square box next to the province. You hold down the control key, then you drag it to the first position. So if, let's say, you want this one to be last, you hold down and drag it to last. Then they can even ask you to insert a new field in between the year completed and the company. So because it's going to replace this one, the company, you just right click and choose insert row. Then you'll be able to insert the new field, let's say code. Then you choose the data type. Right. Change the properties of the power station field so that the data must be inserted when adding a new record. The data must be inserted when adding. Whenever you see must, it means required. The property is called required. Whenever you see must, it means required. So here we go to the power station, and then the property required, we choose yes instead of no. It means that you cannot leave it empty. You have to always type something when you're adding new record. Then insert a validation rule to match the validation text for the year completed. Here is the year completed. Now it says accept only year after 1970. After 1970 means greater than 1970. That should be the validation rule. Greater than 1970. So the year should be greater than 1970. Right. So that's how we put a validation rule. Now, if the question said, let me open Word so that I can just explain the concept of validation rule. If, let's say, the question was asking us to put the year to be from 1920 to 1970, then you say between 1920 and 1970. So we use the keyword between when you know the start and the end, meaning the start year is 1920 and then the end year is 1970. So this should be the right validation rule. But if you say after, then we only use greater than 1970. This one we could have also said greater than or equals to 1920 and less than or equals to 1970. But then sometimes most learners get confused with the greater than and then the less than. So I prefer when you know the start and then the end values, you use between. The same applies to date. You say between, let's say 1st of January 2000 and 31st of December 2000. This is the validation rule for only the date in the year 2000. That's the first date and then the last date. So we use between. Then when you type this, automatically it will come with hashtag. So when you are inserting it, do not put the hashtag. It will be there automatically. All that you need to do is you type the date in the normal format. Again, you can have validation rule that is talking about after today or be up to today. It's greater than or equals to. In database, we don't have today, we use now. That means it should go up until the current date. Right, so watch out for that. And we also have validation rule that talks about including, let's say, validation rule for @ symbol, like email must contain the @ symbol. So you put a star before and then the star after. So watch out for some of these things. But if it is text, you put them in inverted commas. There's a male or female. That means it should only contain male or female. We separate with all. You can have more than one options, and then you separate each of them with all. So these are some of the validation rules that you might encounter. Let me check if the 2023 question paper also has validation rule. I'm going to open the 2023 question paper, and then we also check some of the things regarding database table. So that is 2023 paper. Was it 6 data? No. I think it was question number 4. Yeah, 4 com club. Yes. Right. Now let's look at some of the questions. It says change the meetings table as follows. So we double click on the meetings table. And then it says add the horizontal and vertical grid lines. So like I said, you always go to cell, you type cell, and then it gives you format cell. Then you add horizontal and vertical grid lines. The next question, change the properties of the date ID field so that the user has to enter. It is similar to must, has to enter required, yes. And you can change the property in design view. You right click and choose design view. Now, the question says has to enter date ID. So this date ID. Then the property code required, you change it to yes. And then again, change the property of the speaker field so that the user cannot enter more than 25 characters. And that's the field size. You can't enter more than 25 characters, meaning you have to set the field size to 25. So we click on speaker, then the field size, we change it to 25. Then again, add a field with the name photo between the speaker and then the topic field. It must be able to store a digital image. Now, anytime they are talking about digital image or digital document, we use OLE object. The data type is OLE object, which stands for Object Linking Embedded. Now, so we need to create a new field called photo between speaker and topic. Between speaker and topic. That means it's going to push topic below. So you right click on the topic and choose insert row. Then you type photo. Now images and multimedia, we don't choose short text. We choose what we call OLE object. If it is email, we choose what we call hyperlink. Email and then website address, we use hyperlink. So you must watch out for that. Right. Change the properties of the distance field so that the value in the field will be displayed with 1 decimal place in datasheet view. So the distance, when you click on distance, it is number, and then you see the format. We choose fixed, then the decimal place will be 1. If you don't choose fixed as format, it's going to change the decimal places. So you choose fixed so that you'll be able to choose the exact number of decimal places. And then a user cannot enter value less than or greater than 30. It cannot be less than. The keyword here says cannot be able to enter. So you can enter less than 3 or greater than 30. So you can put less than 3 or greater than 30. Or alternatively, meaning that it starts from 4. If you say less than 3 or greater than 30, that means it should start from 4. 4 up until 29. So meaning here it should be from 4 to 29. So we can use between. You can say between 4 and 29. Or you can say less than 3 or greater than 30. Or somebody can say greater than or equals to 4 and less than or equals to 30. Or less than or equals to 29. That means from 4 up until 29. So you can choose any of these and it will work. Now let's put it. So I'll go to validation rule and I type between 4 and 29. Or you can say less than 3 or greater than 30. Now we also have default value. Here the default value says 0. That means automatically new record will pick 0. You can see here, before you type, it picks 0. That's the default value. Then change the property of the claim field so that the field is displayed as follows when a new record is added. Tick. So meaning it should be yes and no. So the claim field is tick, then yes and no. We can change it to true or false or on and off. So you can just change it instead of yes and no to be ticked. Right. Remove the re-embed field. So to remove means delete. You right click and then you choose delete rows so that you'll be able to delete that. And then again, a code for meeting is made up of the following: 3 compulsory letters, followed by 2 compulsory digits, followed by a single letter entry optional. Now, this is called input mask, and I will always like you to study the input mask worksheet, which will be given to you together with HTML code. Now, compulsory digit will use 0. Optional digit will use 9. Optional digit, including negative and plus, will use hashtag. Compulsory letter will use L. Optional letter will use question mark. A letter or digit will use capital A. A letter or digit which is optional will use small a. And any character which is compulsory, capital C for any character which is optional. Less than if you want to change everything to lowercase, greater than if you want to change to uppercase. So you need to study this whenever you are answering such question. Now the question says 3 compulsory letters, of which the first is uppercase. That means compulsory letter will use L. And we want 3 of them. So you put 3L. But of which the first is uppercase. That means the first should be uppercase greater than, and then the next 2 is less than, is lowercase. So it should be greater than L, less than 2L. So the second and the third letter will be lowercase. The first letter will be uppercase. That's why we put a greater than. Followed by 2 compulsory digits. Compulsory digit will use 0 for it. So you put 2 zeros next to it. followed by a single letter, which is optional. A letter which is optional is question mark. So you put question mark. Right. So this is how the validation rule was supposed to be. You must always look out for that. Let's also look for validation rule for this one, or not validation rule, input mask. There is an input mask question here. I think here there was no input mask question. There was no input mask question. So we can move on with that. Last year, there wasn't any input mask question. So this question paper, we just needed to put that validation rule. And the question said it should be assigned to a code. So we must create on the code an input mask. We put it here. So it should be greater than 2L and then less than another 2L, then followed by 2 zeros and then question mark. That should be the input mask property sheet. Right, so you must always refer to it. Now, a letter we use capital L to represent it. You must always refer to that. Right, add a primary key to any suitable except description field. So primary key should be unique. A primary key should not be empty. So you must take note, primary key, it should be unique field and it should not be empty. So now when you check this, go and check it from the datasheet view. This one is empty, so it cannot be primary key. The code can be primary key. A photo cannot be primary key. Maybe the photo is the same. So the best one should be code. So you go to code, which is unique. You right click and choose primary key. And then now edit the single record. Add the single record by copying the full content of the text for forensics and then the description, and then you put it inside. So here they can ask you to type something here, which you can type it only in datasheet view. You type them in datasheet view. Right. Now, we move straight to what we call the input mask, not input mask, drop down or combo box. If you can check last year question paper, it says add the option ESCOM as a lookup value to choose from the company field. So ESCOM was not there and we need to choose it or add it. So when you go to the company field, you will see lookup and all of them are here without ESCOM. So you put question, you put semicolon, then you put inverted comma, then you type ESCOM. So that when we go there, ESCOM will be part of it as a lookup. So that you see ESCOM as part of it. Right. We can have a lookup whereby we pick it from a table. Let's say we are going to pick another one called, maybe I'll have province. Maybe province 1. I want to pick the province values. Now, if you are picking the value from another table, you go to data type and then you choose lookup wizard. Then if you are going to type the values yourself, you choose the second one. I will type in the values myself, then you type the values here. Maybe EC Northwest, Eastern Cape, and then you type all the provinces, then you click on finish. So that when you go there, the options will be added here to select. Now, if you are taking from another table, let's say we have another province. If you are picking from another table, you just have to go to lookup, then you change the text box to combo box. Then you see row source type, you select the table. Let's say I'm picking from this table. So if you are to pick from the table, you go to lookup and then you change the text box to combo box. Then the row source, you pick the table which contains those lists, and that's the lookup. Right. So that is all about the table properties that you need to know. Now let's move straight to form and then queries. I don't think I will spend much time on forms. Um, Still on 2024, there was a form given to us, which we need to make changes to it. So you right click on the form and then choose design view. Now the first question says, change the heading of the form to your name. So this is the heading of the form. You type your name. You can extend it. And then change the background color of the form footer to the same color as the header. So here is the footer. You right click and then you see fill or back color. So the same color as the header, I think it was this one, not that color. Fill or back color. So that you can choose the same color. I think it's too deep, that one. Yeah. Right. The next question says, change the format property of the DAM name text box to always display the data in uppercase. Now, we want this one to be in uppercase. This is the DAM name. Remember, the one on the left-hand side is the text box or the label. This one is the text box. So this is the field that you need to make changes. Now, if you don't see the field properties, you just right click and then go to properties. It's going to give you the properties of it. Now, the question says it should be in uppercase. That means the format, you put greater than to change it to uppercase. Right. So when you put a greater than for the format, it changes to uppercase. Now, the next question, which says, insert the label next to the completed text box to display the message year only example 2010. So the completed years, this is completed and they wanted us to put a text box next to it. So the text box or the label, you get it from the form design, and then you see label, which is the capital A, small a. Then you draw it here, and then you type inside years only, example 2010. Right. The hydroelectric field does not appear in the form. Instead, hydroelectric field next to the capacity in the form. So we need to insert that field next to capacity. That means on top here. So we choose the text box, which is AB, and then you draw it. Now, we change the label name to hydroelectric. And then, like the way they bolded them, you must also bold them the same. So you can get that one from format. And then you see bold. So you can see they were bold, and then they also use the calibri. So you must use the same to bold them. Right. And then again, the unbound. This is what you do. You must right click and choose properties like I told you earlier. You right click properties so that you see the property sheet. Now we need to add the data inside it instead of unbound. So we go to data and you see the control source. We select hydroelectric so that it will be written hydroelectric to add the data to it. Right. Remember here also you can insert input mask and validation rule like we did in the table. They can ask you a question on that. Now, they can ask you to fill also here. You right click, you see fill or back color with any color. Or you can fill with a picture, whereby you go to format, you see background image, then you can browse for a background image. Right, now let me remove the fill color. Then you can have the background image. Right, now again, they can ask you to insert an image in the header. When you go to form design, you see insert image, then you can draw the image. Then they can ask you to change the height and weight of the image. When you right click, you see properties, format, then you can see the height and then the weight of the image. Again, the size mode, you can change the size mode to stretch so that it fills in. These are some of the questions that they can ask you for the header and then the footer. They can also equally ask you to insert the action button. Like you click on button from the controls and then you draw it. Maybe to close the form so that to give you access to close the form. So the action button, you can get it from here, from the form controls. The one like a rectangle written button, some of them have X, X, X on it. So that's action button. Right. They can equally ask you to also link this image. Now, when you click on it, you see hyperlink. Then you go to hyperlink address, maybe to link it with something else. So you must watch out for all these. Always look out for it in the properties. You'll find all of them. Now, what if they ask you to insert date and time? You'll also find it here. Date and time to the header or only the time on the header. So that is all about forms that you need to know. Now let's move straight to queries. So if you can check the other question paper, the form was similar, like this one here. Remove the border from the label, admin control to the header section, the date as the date join, do not change the format. Properties so that the date picker, yes, if it's a date, they can ask you to pick a date picker. So let's say if we were to have a date, let me open this one in design view. This birth date, and they want the date picker to be there. So when you go there, you see show date picker, you say for date, then you select never or for date. If you don't want to display, you choose never. Right. So if they ask you some of these questions, that's how you must do. And then again, this date was not showing. They wanted it to be the actual date and time. So you go there and choose date and time. Then you can now copy that date to that side. Right. Sometimes the date is also not visible. You must always check it also. Now, you can also arrange them. When you select it, you can go to Form Arrange. Then they can ask you to arrange them to stack, the entire one to stack. You can get it from Arrange. So you must watch out for some of these things. Now, we move straight to Queries and then Report. When it comes to queries, I would like you to know that the queries that you'll be asked to create are the following. Either you create a new query and then you modify a query. There is no query with condition calculated field. Grade 11, you don't do calculations. It's only creating a query, modifying it, and then putting also the sorting aspect. Right. So let's check last year question paper. Create a query called QRY5 underscore 3 based on the TBL5. Now, anytime you are creating a query, we use what you call query design. Now, before I start the query, let me check if there's any question. Yeah, somebody say, can you use $sign? Yes, you can use $sign also. You can use $sign to also display. Right. You can use $sign to display. Now, let's proceed with the queries. Now, anytime you are creating a query, you go to create, then you use query design. And then this question says we have to create a query based on TBL 5. So you choose the table TBL 5. You double click on it. Now, you select the one that you need to pick. It says display only the dam name, the province, the river, and then the surface area. So you double click on the dam name, followed by the province, followed by the river. You double click, and then followed by the surface area. Now, after selecting them, the next thing to do is sort the data alphabetically first by province and then by the name of the river. So we are sorting by the province. Alphabetically means ascending order, and then by the name of the river. Now, because the question says we must sort by the province before the name of the river, meaning we need to exchange these two, meaning the province should come first before the dam name. Let's check the question. Yeah, that's the dam name. Now, it said display only the dams with a surface area of 100 or more. So whereby the surface area should be greater or equals to 100. So don't forget to pick the surface area greater than or equals to 100. You put a criteria there, and then you can now run it. Right. The next question says, we have to edit the query 5 underscore 4 so that the dams found with the spread instead of rivers. Use the total feature to display the average depth of the dams in the list. Now, let's check this question. This is 5 underscore 4. You right click and choose design view. Now, according to the question, it says, we want split, not the dam. So you have to run it and check how did they type them and where did they have them? Under the rivers, with a Spruit. I'm not sure whether it's the damn name. Let's check again. Means small, often dry um, one during that one. Now, display a list of dams found in the spread instead of river. So the dams that are found in the spread. So you have to look for the dams that has the spread. We need to check the right criteria. All right, so they don't want the river. These are the rivers. Let's check the code because we don't see the criteria. Um, to display the list of them found in the spread instead of rivers. And then they are saying in South Africa means a small, often dry and dry. So let's check if there's any small or something there. There is nothing of that. Okay, so now I think they wanted us to find the average, the total feature for the average depth of the dams in that list. So we use the total feature and then we'll pick the average. Average depth. Here's the depth, then you choose average. But now the criteria that I was looking at, I don't see any spread here. And all of them are having the name called dam with a capacity. Let's check the table where they created according to TBL5 data. So let's check TBL5 data. If it also has no, it does not have that. So I think maybe um I'm not sure what that question wanted, but then now I believe we have to only add this one with a total row to get the average. Now, there are times that they can give you a criteria. Let's say the depth, that starts with S. So you can say S star S star. That contains that. So the dam name that contains letter S. Or if let's say we want to display only because all these river names, there are some river names, all of them are having different names next to them. So that is why that question was different. I didn't know what they wanted, but then I've been able to put the total. Right. Remember, there's no aggregate function. There's no aggregate function, so we cannot use the aggregate function here. Now let's check this one, 5_5. List of all the dams completed within the last 50 years. From today with a capacity of more than 500,000. So the last 50 years from today, 5_5. So completed within the last 50 years from today. That means we can use between from the completed. So between, so last 50 years from today, between, and then that date within the last 50 years. So meaning this is 2025 from today, and then we have that year. That could be maybe between that year, maybe 21st of January. Well, the last 50 years could be, this is 2025. So maybe 2000, and then the year 2000 will be 25 years. And then if you also take another 25 years from there, maybe 1975. 75 and today. So today you can say now, between that date and then now. So it will give only that date. Then again, the question says, with a capacity of more than 50,000 liters. So you go to capacity more than 50,000, you put greater than 50,000. So between now and then the last 50 years, then also capacity of more than 50,000. Then you put that one there. Now, if they want a specific one, let's say the dam name, they want to display the dam name that has maybe info for them. So you just put star IMP star. You pick the first three letters, so it's going to give you the info for them. So you must take note of that. If they give you that type of question, that involves the criteria. I wanted to see if I can find any such question. Now we can check this question from the 2023 question paper. There were 3 queries, which is 4_2. It says we must create a query called 4_2. So we go to create and then query design. And then the query must be based on club members. So you double click on club members. Then according to the question, we must display the member. You double click. You must display also the phone. And then you must display the group. And then you must display the mailing list. Right. And then again, the question says, add a criteria to display only parents from the group who are not on the mailing list. Now, you have to first run it and check. How do they put the parent for the group? They wrote parent in full. So you put P star, or you can put the star PAR star under the group. So it's going to give you only parent. Remember, like we did for the criteria, you put the first 3 letters, star before and star after. Right. And then those who are not in the mailing list, that means those who said no, who did not take. So mailing list, we just say no. So those parents who are not in the mailing list would opted for no. Right. And then the mailing list field must not be displayed. So we have to go and then you must untick mailing list so that we don't display it. Right, now let's go to 4_3. It was created for us. Show all records of members who were younger than 21 years. So 4_3, younger than 21 years, which is age joined less than 21. And then again, it says the query must show all records of members who have more than 2 devices, irrespective of the age at which they join. So irrespective meaning that they shouldn't be on the same row. So you go to the devices and then you go to more than 2, which is greater than 2. Because of irrespective, it should not be on the same line. And then you run it. Ensure that the youngest member appear on the top. So the youngest member must be on the top. And this is not the youngest, meaning we have to sort it according to the age join in ascending order. Right. Now, 5 underscore of 4 underscore 4. Add group field to the query, and then the query must show records whose surnames start with N to Z. So 5 of 4 underscore 4. And we have to add the group. So we choose group. You can select from here, or you double click from that side. Now, the question says all those whose surname, that's member field, start with letter from N up until Z. So the surname, the members, you choose between N and Z. That means they start from N up until Z. We use between. Right. Then again, only those records where the member joined the club before the April 2018 must be inserted. So the join field before means less than 2018. And then the last date for April 2018 is 31st, or the first date, 01/04/2018. So the 2018, let's check again. April or before, meaning less than 2018. Here the date, they change. So here should be 4, and this side should be 1. Right, so that is all for the queries. Now let's move straight to the report. The report is going to be short. Like this question, there was no report, but last year question, there was a report question. So the report, you just have to know how to create or how to modify the report, and then how to sort. Now this question says we must create a report as follows. We must display the province, the dam name, the completed capacity, and the depth of the dam field. So to create a report, you go to create, then you choose report wizard. And then they say it should be based on the table TBL5 data, this one. And what should we show? Province, dam name, completed capacity, and then the depth. So first you double click on province, dam name, completed, and then the depth. Right. Then you go to next. Do you want to add any grouping? Yes, because the question says the report must be grouped according to provinces. So you double click on provinces. Now there is also grouping options. Let's say we want the provinces to be having first letter or the first 3 letters. Then go to next. And then the question says, edit the group to be summarized by giving the total capacity of each group. So the total meaning sum of each group. So here, when you go to the sorting, they can also ask you to sort. Let's say we are sorting by the dam name. And then you do the calculations here. Summary options. Then they say the total capacity of each group. So here we did not select the capacity. That's the problem. We didn't pick the capacity. So we can choose maybe the sum of them. And then you finish. Now, you click on close print preview. We are going to do that calculation. Now, to do calculations, you must make sure that the group and sort is there. So you can go to tell me what to do, then you type group and sort. Then you'll find here group on province with no totals. You go there and then you'll find this one that says with no totals. Then it says totals on capacity. And then the question says the sum total capacity for each group. You take show subtotal in group footer. If they say for all of them, you take show grand total. So that's how we do calculations. You must click on more from the group and then you choose with no total. Then you'll be able to pick your totals from there. Right. Remember, for report, they can ask you to put the header and all those things similar to what we did in the form. They are similar. The only difference is that here we do calculations. You must watch out for that. That is all for report. Now, let's wrap up with HTML. I think HTML will only use 10 minutes because for grade 11, they only need few things from you regarding HTML. So I am going to pick the first question, which is our HTML question here. 6, fine. I'm going to pick this question. From 2024 question paper. So you right click and choose edit with Notepad++. Now you always answer the questions here. The first question says, ensure that the title of the web browser will display as Save Water. So we have to put a title here. But before the title, we needed to put the head tag, then followed by the title tag. Then we close our title tag. When you are closing, you must make sure that there's a / and then you close your head tag. Right. 6.2. Change the background color of the web page to cornflower blue. So we must, whenever you are changing the background color, it is an attribute of the body tag. So we say BG color equals to cornflower blue. And then the next question, change the font of the web page to Arial. So the font was created for us with a size. So we need to put the font type, which is face equals to Arial. They can even ask you to change the font color also. Color equals to maybe blue or red. And we should make sure that we close the font tag. If it's not closed, go and check. It means we needed to close the font tag somewhere here because it's for the entire page. Right. Change the heading find and fix leaks to display in the largest heading style. Find and then fix leaks, which is 6.4. The largest heading style is H1. And then we close our H1. The second largest will be H2. And then the next question, Ensure that the paragraph below the heading appears as example above. Now, these questions are very tricky. You must check the example, the paragraphs. Now, you must check how that paragraph is. The paragraph is P. So it means there were two paragraphs. As you can see here, the first paragraph ends with a long time and the second paragraph starts with a leak. So this paragraph must end with an end time or long time. So meaning we have to close the paragraph here. And then we open a new paragraph from here from leaks. Then we close it here. Remember, we can also align a paragraph, like align equals to maybe justify. They can ask you to align the paragraph or the heading. Like this one, you can say align equals to center. Right. And then again, the next question, correct the text so that the last picture will display correctly. Now 6.6. The picture doesn't show because of the SRC, not SCR. IMGSRC equals to the name of the picture. Now let's go and check the picture name. The picture name is 6.5 and it's JPG. So not PNG, it should be JPG. So 6.5.jpg, you must always check the file extension before it will display. And with a picture, they can ask you to insert the width. Let's say the width equals to 500. And then the height equals to 400. And then the alt text, alternative text equals to, let's say, new picture. The alternative text, if the picture is not displayed, it's going to display there. That text is going to be there so that when you hover your mouse pointer on it, you'll find the new picture as a text on that particular image. Right, let's move on to the next one. It says, in the last row of the table, the text must display in bullet list. Insert the text to display as a bulleted list. So 6.7, it must display as a bulleted list. So bulleted list, we use what we call UL. And you can specify the type of the bullet, maybe type equals to circle. And each list item, we put LI. Then you close it, maybe here. The second list item, you put LI. And then you close it where that list is ending. And then the third list item, also LI. Then you close it. Now, when you are done with your list, you close it with UL. You close your UL. Right. So if it is numbering, we use OL instead of UL. But the LI is for list item, individual list in the that particular list. So here the list item here. Right. The next question. Display the text call a plumber in bold and then underline. Or this one. So meaning we chose this one. So here should not be the list. That list should have ended here. UL must end here. So call a plumber must have bold, which is B, and underline, which is U. If it's italic, it's I. You must take note. And then the same way that you open, you must close it the same way. Because we ended with I, you do also. And then also U. And then we started with B. Don't forget to put the forward slash. So B started first for bold. It means it must end. And then followed by U, we have to also close it. Right. Then the last question, a hyperlink to the top of the document must be corrected. Now they want to hyperlink to the top. So hyperlink is a href hyperlink reference equals to. Now the top of the document, that means they created a bookmark. Let's check that bookmark. We see a name equals to top. Whenever you see a name, that's bookmark. So they gave a name to this site, and we want to link it to that place. So you put hashtag, the name, which is top, then go to top. So that when you click on go to top, it will jump straight to this particular place. Right. And you can hyperlink to external, like a website or anything. We use ahref equals maybe SirAntwi.com. Then my web. And then you close your A. When you are linking to an email, is ahref equals to mail to column SirAntwi@gmail.com. So if you are creating an email address, a link to email, we use mail to. Then you type contact us. And you close your A. So that's how we deal with hyperlink. Also, if you want a line break, we use BR. BR is line break. If you want to insert horizontal line HR, then you must specify the width of the line, that's 100%, and the size of the line, let's say 6, the thickness, and then the color of the line, let's say blue. So these are the things that you must know at grade 11. The horizontal line, the break, hyperlink, bullets, then font, inserting image and others, background color and title. These are the topics that you have to know as grade 11 learner. Like you see here, this question is also similar. You see font, and then this question is a list. So this is UL, and then the hyperlink, you are linking to this teachers.pdf. Horizontal line also, HR. So basically, the image height, image width, you can try your hands on all these questions. That is all about HTML. Thank you so much for your precious time. We will end here. After this, I am going to break them down and send it to be as a playlist to everybody. Thank you for your precious time. Good night.